Welcome back. Let's do some myth busting. There are many myths that disability insurance policyholders believe about breast cancer disability insurance claims, and my job is to tell you the truth. I want you to understand your ERISA and disability insurance policy. I want you to understand the claims process, and I want you to understand in advance the games that carriers will play to delay or deny your benefits. So today's myth is going to be the APS form that the disability carrier sends to you and your doctor asks all the right questions about your breast cancer or its complications so that you can get the disability benefits you deserve. As I said before, I think the key to winning your disability benefits is the attending physician statement form, but more importantly, changes that you can make to that attending physician's form with the form that we use in our Social Security disability cases. So the carrier is going to look at the attending physician statement form completed by your physician. Generally, that form is going to ask questions about your ability to sit, stand, walk, lift, carry, bend, squat, and maybe they'll ask questions about your use of your upper or lower extremities. In my humble but correct opinion, rarely do those forms ask right questions about common problems in breast cancer cases, like fatigue. Is there difficulty with focus, difficulties with concentration, difficulties with the ability to follow simple instructions or to complete tasks in a timely manner? Are there any side effects of chemotherapy, like radiculopathy into the hands? Is there any side effect of treatment that causes the problems such as fatigue, focus, and concentration? That's why I like the Social Security Disability Residual Functional Capacity form that we use in Social Security Disability breast cancer cases. It asks the right questions. And so many times I'm going to modify the carrier's APS form with questions from the Social Security Residual Functional Capacity form, or I'll just staple it to the back of the APS form and ask the doctor to complete both. That's important because the carrier is going to use these forms to determine if you have the capacity to return to your own occupation or other occupations. I have found that breast cancer treatment and the side effects of treatment cause not only physical exertional impairments, but non-exertional and psychological limitations that can reduce or even eliminate your ability to do your own occupation or any other occupation as defined by the terms of your policy. So this is really where the rubber meets the road. If you are, for example, in the any occupation stage, in my view, you have to have less than a sedentary functional capacity to win your case. What's the definition of sedentary work? Well, it's the ability to lift a maximum of 10 pounds at a time, sit 6 hours, and occasionally walk and stand 2 hours per an 8-hour day. I want a residual functional capacity form that is less than sedentary from an exertional standpoint, or one that allows me to erode your functional capacity to less than sedentary with non-exertional or psychiatric limitations. So let me unpack that. If, for example, you can't lift more than 10 pounds, you can't sit, walk, or stand more than 2 hours out of an 8-hour day, you're at a less than sedentary capacity. And I think that you've got a great chance of winning your any occupation stage claim. But I think that non-exertional limitations can be the key, because many times the disability carrier's doctor is going to disagree with your doctor's opinion about a sedentary work capacity. If you've got to take frequent breaks because of fatigue, take naps, or you're going to be absent more than 4 times a month, the non-exertional impairments can reduce or erode that residual functional capacity to sedentary or less. Now, surgery can result in limited abilities to bend, twist, or use your upper extremities. Chemotherapy and medication can result in tingling and numbness in your hands and feet. So you might not be able to feel your fingers or toes. You have difficulty picking up objects, doing fine fingering motions, or even standing and walking. These non-exertional limitations can reduce your functional capacity to less than sedentary. And I will tell you, carriers don't ask those questions, and they don't ask their doctors to consider these non-exertional limitations. They just want their doctor to look at the physical requirements of occupations and to have them say that you're capable of working in at least a sedentary capacity. Now, most breast cancer sufferers also have chemo fog and have trouble concentrating. They've got to make lists of tasks, and they generally have difficulty completing those tasks. In my view, the inability to start a task and finish it, or to stay on task and do it on a timely manner, can erode that sedentary capability to less than sedentary. I really want to be arguing that the carrier's doctor hasn't fully considered the exertional and non-exertional impairments in determining what your level of physical functioning is, and then to nail the vocational carrier evaluator who says that you can do other work based on your skills and your restrictions and limitations and the wages available in your labor market. If they're not taking into consideration how these non-exertional and exertional impairments will interfere with the transferability of the skills that you've learned and basically make it difficult for you to take those skills to other occupations, or that because of your need for breaks or absenteeism that you wouldn't be able to do the full range of work, all of that's going to impact the carrier's transferable skills analysis and their labor market survey. I know that breast cancer pain, fatigue, and chemo brain can make it impossible to work. They're common symptoms of treatment and side effects, and the carrier should be considering those reports. I want to make sure that in your medical records, you're explaining those symptoms, how those symptoms impact your functionality. I also want to make sure that the side effects of treatment and medication are established by objective medical evidence. I once had a case where my client had stage 4 liver cancer, and the carrier disbelieved his complaints of tingling and numbness in his hands and feet. We actually had to go get an EMG and nerve conduction study test to prove that the treatment had caused the tingling and numbness in his hands and feet. Just telling the carrier that you've got severe pain, fatigue, or chemo brain is not going to be enough to win your case. The carrier is going to be looking at your medical records for the results of the physical examination that are consistent with the symptoms and diagnostic tests. But we know there's no test for pain or fatigue. Now, neuropsychological testing can document cognitive problems, but the testing is awful expensive and generally not covered by group insurance, and picking the right sympathetic neuropsychologist can be tough. Because one of the things that's going to be in the carrier's mind is just how disabling is your pain, your fatigue, or your cognitive issues. As I said, there's no test to prove the side effects other than EMG and nerve conduction study tests, maybe some neuropsychological testing, but you need to understand that's a problem. Many carriers will have position papers on how to evaluate a breast cancer claim and post-treatment symptoms. These position papers will discount the common side effects of treatment, or worse yet, suggest that everyone who's completed treatment, who is in remission, can work. And we know that's just not true and is crap. So one way I like to try to prove disabling pain is for my clients to have regular treatment from the oncologist or a pain management provider. Now, I also like to use pain diaries. And I think that's a good way, again, to document your pain and symptoms, and something you should be giving to your doctor between each visits. I think that you also want to make sure that if you are having problems with things like swelling or arms of your arms and hands and difficulty using them because of the lymphedema, that you take some photos and maybe even shoot some video so that the carrier can actually see the swelling, how the swelling impacts your functionality. But remember, at the end of the day, the residual functional capacity form is key. So I think that physicians don't do a good job of documenting the symptoms and the effect those symptoms have on your ability to do the activities of daily living. And that's why I think it's important that you're giving your doctor a good interval history about the location, duration, frequency, and intensity of your symptoms, how your symptoms affect your activities of daily living, what activities cause or increase your symptoms, the side effects of medication, if you have any, what you do to relieve your symptoms, and to supplement all of that with a pain diary or a fatigue diary or a chemo brain diary, and as appropriate, photographs of swelling and other problems that you have as a result of the side effects of your medication. In the next segment, I'm going to tell you about the 5 tips to winning your breast cancer disability claim. So stay tuned. But in the meantime, I think you can see that the attending physician statement form that carriers used is not the right form to use to document your symptoms. And we've blown that myth apart, haven't we?
Are you a professional with questions about your individual disability policy? You need the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. This book gives you a comprehensive understanding of your disability policy, with tips and to-dos regarding your disability application that will assist you in submitting a winning disability application. This is one you won't want to miss. For the next 24 hours, we are giving away free copies of the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. Order yours today at disabilityclaimsforprofessionals.com.